Hey y'all, I just wanted to interrupt here for just a quick second to do a little disclaimer. In the past couple of weeks, I've lost a few subscribers, 4 or 5, something like that, and that's no big deal. That happens all the time with everybody, and sometimes it's just when YouTube does their accounting. But it kind of made me get thinking that there may be some people out there who have seen my first video and think, oh, here it comes. He's going to start putting out his PayPal address and opening a Patreon account and blah, blah, blah. I just want everybody to know that is not the intention of these videos at all. This series of videos is strictly to tell people who may be in the same boat that I was in 2, 3 years ago that it's not an impossible situation. You can do this if you want to. I had a lot of help. I had a lot of breaks. I had a lot of luck involved, but anybody can do it. And I just want everybody to know that I have no intentions of trying to ask for money so I can get back to Thailand or any other reason. This is just strictly for information, hoping that maybe it will help somebody else at some point. And there's nothing wrong with anybody that puts out their Patreon accounts and PayPal addresses. I've learned very quickly that video editing is not a quick process by any means, and mine are much quicker than most bloggers would have to go through to get a video out. So there's nothing wrong with that at all, but I just want everybody to know that is not the purpose of this series. Thank you, and now back to our regularly scheduled program. All right, people, here we are. Part 2 of my late in life journey. My new mic did come in. It's still a cheap mic, but it's much better than the one I had before, so I'm hoping the sound on this one will be better. So if it's worse, please let me know. When I left off in part 1, I was just bringing out the point that my meeting with Simon turned out to be a very pivotal point in my life as far as my going to Thailand. After we had been friends for a little while, Simon wrote me an email. He said he was trying to work on another love story, but it was going to, in his opinion, a fairly long one, and he was having a hard time finding the time with making other videos and other work that he had to do. He asked whether or not I would be interested in writing up some of the storyline for the new love story that he had. So I emailed him back and told him I'd never done anything like that in my life. I wouldn't even know where to start. I've never written anything. I just didn't see that I was qualified to do anything like that at all. He wrote me back and he said, well, if I wanted to give it a try, then he would send me the basic storyline and I could work on it if I wanted to. And if I didn't want to, just let him know, and that would be fine with him too. But he really did want me to give it a try. The only thing he asked was that I keep the details to myself, because this was a story that he didn't want to, get out until he made the videos, and I perfectly understood that. So I went ahead and told him I'd give it a try and send him, some examples, and he could see what he thought of that. So he sent me the basic details, and I decided to sit down and start writing out kind of an outline of what I thought should go into the story. And I did that, and just, a very basic outline. And I sent that to Simon to let him look at it and see what he thought. He looked it over and made a couple of changes in it, a couple of suggestions, and sent it back and said, let's do this. Go ahead and start writing it. So that's what I did. Now, y'all know that Simon doesn't use a script. He gets in his head what he wants to say, and then he just tells his story. So he didn't want like a screenplay or, anything like that. He just wanted something that he could read over, decide on, what length that single video would be, then just go on and wing it from there. And that was fine. So that's what I did. I sat down and I worked on the first couple. I had kind of figured out from my outline that there were probably going to be about 6 episodes. I did the first 2 of them, sent them to him to see what he thought of it. He wrote me back, and he suggested, again, a couple of changes. I made those changes, sent it back to him. And the next thing I know, he had actually made the first video. And here I was thinking that I was going to make about 6 videos. That put me about 4 behind, so I had to get to work on them. So I started writing these out, and very quickly I realized that this wasn't going to be 5 or 6 episodes. I could tell, and then with my revised outline and like that, it was going to be 10 or 11, and that was considerably more than what he was looking for. So I kind of let him know that and decided to see kind of what he thought of it. Simon looked it over and said, "That's fine. If it makes 10 or 11, it makes 10 or 11. So I started writing them out, and I was just getting them out the day before he was actually going to do the recording the video. And he actually even got ahead of me, at least at one point, because I wasn't getting it out fast enough. He wanted to get his videos out on a regular basis, and I understood that. So all I had to do was just, make a few changes here and there, and that was it. There, the Drowning Love story was born. 10 episodes, I think. He got them out, and we were done with that. Well, after they were done and got pretty good response, Simon wrote me and said, "Why don't you make an ebook out of this? You're not having any trouble coming up with, plenty to say. I've always been kind of wordy in anything I do anyway." And he said, "Make an ebook of it. Maybe get the ebook out, put it on Amazon or something like that. Might make a few dollars from it or whatever, and it would help out on my trip to Thailand." And I thought, well, I've never done that either, but I hadn't done the outlining and the storytelling on the videos either. So I told him I'd give it a try, and that's what I did. And I started on the book, and didn't necessarily go, in order. I'd jump around a little bit too much. I'd send them off to him, he'd read them over, and he'd make some suggestions and some changes like that. And we worked on that for a while until I got probably about half of the book done. About that time, the holidays were coming up, which is always a bad time for me. And I kind of stepped back into what I've always called my hermit mode, to where I just didn't do anything, didn't get anything done. It just kind of went by the wayside. I'd work on it a little bit here and there, and then I'd make changes, and I'd go back and I'd edit, whatever, but I just wasn't getting very much done. Simon could pretty much tell that I was, slipping back into my bad time. He emailed me a few times, encouraging me. He finally said, "Ron, why don't you go to Thailand? That way you can see the culture, you can see the area, you can see the people, you can go to Phuket, you can see where all this took place, and maybe that would stimulate you to where you could get the book done." So he was doing everything he could to encourage me, to try to get me out of my shell, but it just wasn't working very well. Around the holidays, anywhere from late October to 1st of January is always a bad time. I just wasn't getting anything done. Then about this time, Simon and Mim made their decision that they were going to go ahead and retire and move back to Thailand. So he hit me up with the idea that they would be moving to Thailand, and then when I came over, I could kind of use their house as a base that I could operate out of. I could go around and visit Thailand, see different areas in the country, go down and see Phuket. And it just seemed to him like this was the ideal situation, that they would be able to show me the areas fairly close to where they lived, and then point out places that I should go see. And it just seemed like the perfect solution in his opinion. So he started on me again about making a trip to Thailand. Well, to be honest, he wasn't having much luck. I was just firmly entrenched in my feeling sorry for myself mode.
Good grief, old man. You want some cheese to go with that wine? What a drama queen.
And he just wasn't really able to get anywhere. Then something else happened. Now, one thing I want to make clear, Simon, everybody knows. You know what I'm talking about when I say Simon. there are going to be other people in this story that I either don't mention their name at all, or I'll just mention maybe their first name at the very most. I don't want anybody, like my friend in Canada, I don't want anybody to have any kind of a problem because I brought up something they did or something they said or anything like that. So it's going to be, just strictly on first name, if that. Especially in this context of the next part I'm getting ready to tell you, and you'll understand why. Simon wrote me, and he said one of his subscribers really did enjoy the Drowning Love story, and he had been following me chatting with Simon during the episodes, and he just really did like it. And he told Simon did not tell me who this was at the time. This subscriber offered to pay some or all of my airline ticket if I would agree to go to Thailand. Now, understandably, this just kind of blew me away. I had no idea that anything that I had done up to that point to help Simon out, that it would have any kind of an impact on anybody, what I had done. Because I hadn't done that much. I just fleshed out the story and added in a few tidbits here and there. And Simon and I worked on it together. I just didn't see how I would have any kind of an impact on somebody to where a total stranger would offer me a trip like that. Now, to be clear, this person has been to Thailand multiple times. This wasn't something that had to do with, well, Ron, if you make a trip, then, maybe I can. It wasn't anything like that. He's been there many times. So I emailed Simon back, told him to be sure and tell the person that had made this offer that I appreciated it. But I just didn't feel comfortable at that point because I just didn't feel like I had really done that much. He wrote me back and he said, no, this guy is serious. He wants to do it, and if you will make the trip, then he wants to help on the flight. So I told Simon I'd think about it. Now, I want to make it clear here, too, money wasn't the only obstacle to me making a trip to Thailand. There were actually several at the time, besides the fact that I was back in my isolation mode. A lot of you probably know I have 2 cats. They're both 14 years old, and one of them is diabetic. She has to have 2 shots of insulin every day, every 12 hours. Now, I had brought up about different people trying to get me to go to Thailand with my nephew and his wife. They had just gotten married fairly recently, and they were both just on me to make this trip. They knew my situation. They thought it would be good for me. And they said they would take care of my cats. They'd come by and give Amy her shots and clean the cat boxes and make sure they had food and water. And they were just willing to do whatever it took to get me to make this trip. But really, you got to think about it. That's asking a lot of anybody. And they both had jobs to where it would have made the timing difficult to come by and give her a shot every 12 hours. And so that really kind of didn't seem like that was very fair of me to do that to them. Now, that's just one example. There were several other hoops that I would have to jump through in order to make a trip to Thailand. This wasn't just like, going to see a concert somewhere 100 miles away. This was going to be a major trip for me. And there were several things that came into account that I would have to get straightened out before I could even consider it. So I emailed Simon back and told him that I was actually considering this. It kind of seemed like the universe was pushing at me to make this trip to Thailand. And it was all of a sudden something that I thought I could at least attempt to make such a trip. It wasn't just this one subscriber either. The community, once I started getting in there and Simon had told people that I was working on the Drowning Love series, I started getting all kinds of comments from people watching the videos, and they were going, when are you coming to Thailand? Let me know when you're going to be there. I want to meet you. We've got to get together. I'll try to plan so my trip will coincide with yours. And it was just lots of people doing that. And this just was an experience I have never had in my life, and I don't think many people do. It just was overwhelming, I guess is about the best way to put it. And it just seemed like everything was trying to line up to get me to come over there. these people that were making these comments and were contacting me, some of them through Simon, he would forward emails to me. And these people I had never met in my life. Everybody except my niece and my nephew. I just met them on the internet. And that was just really, like I say, overwhelming. I don't know of another word to say for it. So I told Simon I would actually start looking into it. I wouldn't just keep saying no, 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 no. Now I was saying, well, I've already told you some of the obstacles I have to overcome, and I'll start trying to see if I can get some of them out of the way. Well, I'm way longer into it than I intended to. So I'm going to call it quits here. Thank everybody for listening up to this point. Get me on here and I get long-winded. The next part 3, should end it up, and it will let you know what I went through to actually get there, to get over to Thailand, and a few things. Most of you know what went on while I was there, so that's not necessary to hash over again, but maybe a few things that you don't know about. But anyway, I'll let you go, and part 3 will be out in a few days. Thanks again. If you like this, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, hit the dislike button. Subscribe, share, ring the bell, all the normal stuff. And I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.